Well, we promised you an interesting conversation with our good friend Doug Soclof, and sure enough, he's in our studio here at JM in the AM. That's your headphone, and that's your mic, and this is your favorite morning Jewish radio show. No, the other way. There you go. And this is your favorite Jewish morning show, to say the least.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome back to JM in the AM, Mr. Doug Soclof.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So, any big plans for Thanksgiving Day?
Always a lot going on. You know, it depends.
You have a wedding tomorrow?
Actually, no wedding tomorrow.
I wonder if tonight's a bigger wedding night than tomorrow is. I wonder which has more Jewish weddings, the Wednesday night Erev Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Day itself.
I'm going to say definitely demographic driven. So I think probably like in the Lakewood area, tomorrow's probably definitely a lot of weddings.
Tomorrow's bigger.
Yeah, and tonight, a lot of weddings all over.
Everywhere.
Wednesday night's big night. Big wedding night.
With plenty of traffic.
Do you have a wedding tonight?
No.
You know, so it's one of those things like, oh, you're invited to a wedding, like, oh, really, on Wednesday night of Thanksgiving.
It's rough.
But if it's a local, but if it's local, you don't have to go.
Now, I have a very quiet Thanksgiving weekend. I don't know how that developed like that, but tonight it looks like not much going on. Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, looks like football and chicken wings. Friday, Erev Shabbos, looks pretty quiet, although we did get a wonderful invitation out to friends for Friday night, which I always look forward to being invited out Friday night during the winter. I don't like being invited out Friday night, March to October. I love being invited out during the winter months.
I love the rule.
Meal starts 5:30. What do you mean? You like my rules?
Yeah, it's a good rule.
It's guidelines, not rules. Yeah.
Guidelines.
I like the 5:30 start to the meal, 5:30, 5:45. I like that. I like the fact that you're 2 hours in and still plenty of time to get a good sleep. I like that whole thing. And the only time I like that, and that's the general rule, I'll use your word, that's the general rule in the Segal home over the decades, is that during the summer months or the more, the longer Shabboses, if we have an invitation, we'll accept it if it's Shabbos day, and then during the winter months, we'll accept it if it's Shabbos night. But I'm also now sort of getting into the space, listen to this one, where Shabbos day during the winter, I will encourage the acceptance of an invitation for lunch, especially if that lunch begins late. Let's say people daven mincha 12:30,
right,
and then sit down at 1 o'clock for lunch, right, and you could assume it's going to be a 2-3 hour meal. If you do that, and we can have a really nice, good quality time, and Shabbos is almost over when the meal ends, I'd head in that direction as well. So now you have the whole thing. Now you got the whole playbook.
And then if the one and only Mrs. Segal looks at you after Shabbos and says, "Are we going out? Are you game?"
You know where you're very into going out on Saturday night?
Where?
American Dream.
Oh, yes.
You think it's a chavaya?
Well, especially if you live like in the Bergen County.
Right. Yeah, but even from New York, you said it's a good recommendation to go out there on a Saturday night.
Absolutely.
A lot of kosher food options. A lot of good Jewish shopping options. And a fun atmosphere.
Great atmosphere. Right. A fun atmosphere just to walk around, and the vibe is great. Like you said, so much kosher there. And even more getting ready to open.
Did you ever... What do you mean getting ready to open?
I think there's one more.
There's more coming up.
One more that's like going to be opening soon, which I think is going to be a huge game changer.
Did you ever think something like this would exist? Forget about the fact that it's a mall, but just that you'd have a retail establishment that's really meant for the general public. I'm not talking about West Englewood Avenue, which is meant for the Jewish community, but I'm talking about meant for the general public. I would have so many kosher and Jewish options.
No, never. And when you see it play out, it's so interesting to see the demographics at that mall. And
if I would go with Mrs. Segal on a Saturday night, I have to budget what? How much money do I need to budget for?
It's not bad.
Can I do it for less than $100 or not?
Yeah. I mean, it's just so interesting because if you kind of have to plan it out because the mall's so big.
Right. You need to know what you want to do.
You don't want to backtrack. So you got to start with like, where do you park first?
Right.
And make sure you're like right in the middle that you don't have to walk too far. Because the worst is, you finish up what you're doing and then you got like 3/4 of a mile of a walk to go to your car and then remember where the car actually is.
Right.
But it's an amazing place. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, no, that I get. I have a running joke with a friend of mine who I daven with every Shabbos morning. I'm getting to an age where, because you said, what are you doing Saturday night? And frankly, I'd much rather do something Sunday than Saturday night. Sunday, Saturday night, even if it's an early Shabbos, I'm just like, no interest in going anywhere. So I have a running joke with someone I daven with on Shabbos morning. When I'm leaving shul after davening, I'll say to him, which pizza shop are we not going to tonight? Because you plan and you think, and then when it comes to shove, no one's going anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but the youth who's tuned in can't relate to this.
Definitely. If you want to be reunited with people that you haven't seen in a long time, go to American Dream on Saturday night.
The other thing is that someone mentioned to me, you remember the old J2 Kosher Delight Saturday night in Manhattan. Someone told me that Bravo in Midtown is like that now on a Saturday night. Now, I don't know because I haven't seen it, but they reported back to me about it. And they go to Bravo 7:30, 7:45 Saturday night, and the lines are extensive. So that's pretty cool if there's a little bit of that vibe still there in Midtown.
It's funny when you go back to that nostalgic direction of Broadway. It was like 36, 37.
Yeah.
Kosher Delight.
And kids today don't even know what we're talking about. Like, we tell them about what it was like to be there on a Saturday night. They can't relate to it.
Well, it's also because obviously there were no phones back then, so there was no. That's where your melting pot was.
Without connecting, you knew you'd connect there.
You know, I call it a Shabbos text. You know, like when you're walking and all of a sudden you just run into somebody that you've been thinking about, whatever. That was like the J2 Kosher Light, Mr. Broadway area was like the texting world way before texting.
I'll give you two other examples of that from the pre-phone world.
Yeah,
Yankee Stadium. If you were meeting someone, you knew you were meeting at the Bat, right? That was always, we'll meet you at the Bat, and that big Bat, the smokestack, was the place everyone met. And then, of course, the original social media was, and you may be a drop younger than me, so I don't know if you could relate as much. Richie's Pizza Jerusalem, the bulletin board, at Richie's Pizza, that's where you would post any message because you knew that the person you needed to connect with would see it there, which is amazing when you think about it. Now it's so easy, it's crazy.
My first apartment that we rented in New York City, just jumping to more domestic, at Lincoln Square Synagogue.
Right,
there used to be a huge bulletin board. And there was no, looking things up on computer or Craigslist or online thing. And that's where we found our first apartment. You would go into the bulletin board, and everything from real estate and babysitters and tutors and whatever you wanted.
Now, let's say somebody wanted to take a weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, Shabbos, Chanukah, January vacation, Washington's birthday, even the entire holiday of Pesach, and turn it into one big family reunion or one big meet and greet with people that you really wanted to reunite with for God knows how long. What would Doug Soclof recommend? Well, people wanted Shabbos, Chanukah's coming up. People want unique adventures on Pesach. It's not like the old days. No. It's not like the old go to the Catskills and and go enjoy the hotel. Now people want exotic and interesting experiences, and not just to travel, but to do it on their own. To do it on their own in homes that they rent, properties that they visit, etc., etc. What does Doug Soclof say about the year 2025 when someone wants to do what I just described?
Absolutely. So, because of social media, the world is wide open at the click of people's fingers. And small. We often get phone calls from people. I like to say it's $1 in a dream. They call up and like, we want to go someplace, exotic, someplace different. Then I give them my 3 questions. Do you need a minion? Do you need this? Do you need that? Like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you're very limited then, unless we're sending a
What
minion.
are the 3 questions? Minion.
So really,
that's a big one.
Right. A minion, a place where, it's not too far to,
it's got to be near something Jewish, right?
And people usually want nice weather.
Right.
So that's usually, the top.
That's the criteria.
That's usually the criteria. So when people call, if they want to stay domestic, if they want to stay domestically, something, Montana, Utah, things like that, sounds amazing. It's great. But if you, and then somebody will be like, no, it's okay. We don't need a minute for a few days. Then they call back an hour like, I forgot my brother-in-law saying Kaddish. He needs a minute.
Right.
And in certain situations, we do create the minion, for people if they are short. I have a situation going on January, Dominican Republic, where we will.
How many people?
Not enough for a minion. It's
I'm saying,
it's a family of 20, but they don't have enough for a minion, and we're coordinating, for them to be able to have a minion. For
What's
sure.
the largest family reunion you've ever done?
So.
Have there been 100 people at a grandparent's anniversary?
Yeah, but then there's no house. Then we shift to a hotel. Absolutely. And then there's certain hotels.
And do these hotels work with you? Like, do they accommodate all the needs of these these groups? Because we could be very. What's absolutely. The word? We can be very needy.
It's. I was talking to somebody the other day at a hotel, and the salesperson had really the right word. They didn't use like, oh, we were oversold. We had a very healthy booking the night before. Mm-hmm. So, the criteria for a hotel is different for every family. Every family, and that's very unique to what I do. I customize every single thing. People sometimes go, oh, can you tell me about this? I'm like, tell me what you want, and we'll make it happen. Everything is customized, and in today's day and age, families have so many scenarios going on, whether it's, grandparents' needs, kids' needs, daughter-in-law, son-in-law's needs. Everybody wants to be happy. And within that, you have specialty. Everyone says to me, oh, the food. I'm like, yes, the food is always important, but it's the 20% of the 100% what we do. We deal with a lot of allergies, and I don't mean food allergies. Right. People are allergic to dust or certain fabrics that we have to make sure, or grandparents' situations. We need to.
What if you need a ramp? That's a basic thing that people don't think of.
Right. So a ramp is actually a pretty easy
standard.
Pretty easy to make it happen, but there's other situations that come up.
What if you need a bouncy house on the front lawn?
And that's like that's easy. That's 101s. That's on speed dial.
What if you need a swimming pool? What if you need an indoor swimming pool?
What about a lifeguard? What about there's certain things, and there's also a lot that people. As much as they think that they know what they want, they kind of don't realize how it all comes together and makes it happen. For example, you talk about Shabbos, Chanukah coming up.
3 Torahs. What if we need 3 Torahs? Can you make that happen, Mr. Soclof?
Yeah, 3 Torahs, or if you're a family of 20, 25 people and the majority of everybody wants to light a menorah and you got to set up the menorahs, especially before Shabbos, it's, there's a lot of pressure to get things done, even though people say, oh, we like to do it, but then they're like, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. We haven't had everybody together in 5 years, and the family's grown by a third since the last time we've had everybody together. And it's very nice to be able to go through these stages and celebrations, whether it's a family gathering, whether I always like to say Bubby Sadie's 50th anniversary or 70th birthday.
Before we continue, how do people reach you and your company to start the conversation about these wonderful events?
Absolutely. So first of all, on Instagram, it's the Douglas Soclof Experience, and they're all my contact, or douglasexp.com on the World Wide Web.
Doug Soclof's here. So Shabbos Chanukah, I don't know if you could reveal this or not, but could you give us an example of some of the locations you're using this year?
Yeah, look.
Are there houses in the...
Orlando's always a...
Shabbos Chanukah?
Shabbos Chanukah.
Rental?
Because a lot of schools are off Thursday to Tuesday.
How does the Jewish presence Shabbos Chanukah in Orlando compare to the Jewish presence on Pesach in Orlando?
Different. Totally different.
But 5% or?
I wouldn't say 5%. It's busy, but nowhere, but nowhere near.
But it could be 20%?
Yeah, look, this is no secret. Orlando.
Boy, I got to start living.
Orlando, a lot of people go, I don't want to go to Orlando, but when you think about it, or when somebody does their research, there's very few places like Orlando for the Frum family, because even if you forget about the parks, forget about the attractions, the homes there just work really well for Frum families. You get a 10-bedroom house, a 9-bedroom house, 11, whatever it is. Everybody has their own space. They have their own bathrooms. There's plenty of room for everybody. And the infrastructure from the local day school, OTA is unbelievable what they've put into place down there. Wow. For people to get away and make it as simple as it could be. But it's the infrastructure is definitely there in Orlando. It's easy to get to from especially larger families who are looking to bring people in from all over the country, all over the world at times. It works really well, as does many communities here in the tri-state area. If you're looking just to go an hour or 2 hours away.
Give me one example.
Lakewood is tremendous.
They have rentals in Lakewood?
Lakewood is tremendous. And the best is if I get a phone call from somebody who's not familiar with Lakewood, and I'm like, trust me, you've never seen anything like this. I said, forget the house, because there's amazing homes in Lakewood. But I'm like, if you're coming from, let's say, the Midwest or from California, and you've never experienced, you can't even think a place like Lakewood exists, with all the Jewish, kosher, crazy population and the things that you could go do, the stores. You're talking about Saturday night. People go out Saturday night. They're like, we haven't gone to sleep on a Saturday night at 2:00 in the morning. We were out running around all over the place, saying, we couldn't stop running around. And then you have upstate, which is also a really, really popular destination, even in the winter.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Douglas Soclof Experience. And the final topic, of course, is Pesach. And this industry, we know how the hotel and Pesach program industry has grown over the years. I never dreamt that house rental and that industry would grow the way it has. And it's Orlando and it's other places also, right?
All over.
It's everywhere.
All over. Orlando, Miami.
People talk to you about it now? In November? Do people
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every year it kind of starts earlier, and it really goes to families getting larger. There's more to coordinate.
More to think about.
More to think about. People are living all over the place. I mean, I know you always have the people from Nefesh B'Nefesh here, but it's so true. Every time, I speak to somebody like, oh, yeah, my kids made Aliyah. Right. Or we have more people, or my parents made Aliyah. And we also do Israel, speaking about Aliyah. We also have our feet on the ground really well in Israel. One of the hardest things when you deal with someone, don't worry, I have my guy in Israel. Everyone has their guy. But again, things have become so much more complicated and not just easy to get things done. And that's really where we step in. And Pesach, obviously, is way more complicated than anybody could think about, especially when you're a larger group.
And realistically, it's funny that you said you start with a certain number of questions. None of them were, what's your budget? Like, do people have to know that they better be at a certain level budget-wise to pull any of this off?
So that's a great question. I always tell everybody, we execute what the client wants. So if they want to keep it simple, they want it middle of the road, they want it high-end, they want a combination of all three, or for us to come up with something, or they just want to sit around and enjoy and keep it basic, we do everything. It's not, we take the marching orders from the client.
So you don't need $100,000 to do everything?
No, you do not.
There are people who do it on a much lower budget.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's there's a lot of options for people to explore out there. I think a lot of people do get overwhelmed because there are so many options. By next, I have some clients who are like, okay, we're ready to get going with Pesach. And I'm like, well, there's nothing out yet to get started with, as far as different catering and options. Obviously the most important thing is to get the house done nice and early so everyone knows where you're going. Right. But after that, really after Chanukah, January, that's when things really kick in.
Douglas Soclof Experience on Instagram. The website is
DouglasEXP.com.
DouglasEXP.com. The greatest beneficiary of the Jewish invasion of Orlando on Pesach is Costco. Would that be an accurate statement, or there's someone who benefits even more from that whole?
That's a great
Is
question.
Costco overrun? Do they know about it? Do they know to expect massive
everybody always talks about it in Orlando, and it's actually fascinating to see. If you've seen the pictures of the Coke and the Diet Coke, they clear the main. There's no kosher grocery store
in Orlando.
Or I should say mainstream grocery store. There's a couple little things that have opened up over the last year or two. But in the Winn-Dixie, which is about 45 minutes or so away from these resort communities, they try to do a really, really good job on bringing in, kosher products in general.
Soda.
But for the soda that they bring in, they clear a third of the store away, and they just bring in Coke and Diet Coke, like thousands of bottles of each. It's actually fun. So Costco, yeah, I don't know. It's a really
well.
good
Your
question.
staff down there does a lot of Costco, no?
So the truth be told, we do not do Costco.
Meaning what? You're in regular supermarkets?
It depends. It depends where, what, Orlando come Pesach time, if you were standing on the highway and watching the amount of trucks coming in from the New York tri-state area,
you'd notice it.
You would be amazed, or if you're able to go to some of the consolidation places where all the trucks kind of show up.
And they warehouse there?
I can name you 10, 12 grocery stores that ship down there.
But Florida has its own infrastructure of kosher food.
Kosher, it definitely does. That's like for another conversation, right. Because pretty much everything's coming from here down to Florida.
Even on the wholesale level?
Yeah, even on the wholesale level, yeah. So the amount of...
Distribution of kosher starts in New York?
Yes.
In this country?
Yes.
Was it always like that?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. And you wouldn't believe me if I told you there's moving companies that, let's say,
take down everyone's stuff.
Exactly. Like forget your luggage. It's people sending like their lazy boy chairs or, what's kind of humorous that I've seen.
Not dining room tables, I hope.
Not dining room tables, but like. Definitely people sending tons of stuff, whether it's boxes of svarim, whether it's like table linen. I mean, what you see go, that's including, and when I say there's a great infrastructure in Orlando itself, you'd be surprised, shocked. How many cars, go back and forth and people monitoring the, 95 and...
Somehow I got into that WhatsApp group of Minyanim on 95 heading down for Pesach. I don't know how I got into that group, but it's crazy. Yeah, in 10 minutes, let's meet at this rest stop and form a mincha.
Yeah. And, but you also hear about great things also, when someone's car breaks down and the people helping and all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting. And so it's a great time of year, as I always like to say. As much as I love the summer, I also love, I love Yom Tov time, and I love inching in, Thanksgiving and Shabbos, Chanukah, winter vacation, Purim, Pesach.
A lot of good things on the Jewish calendar.
A lot of incredible things on.
That's true. That we have to be thankful for.
Absolutely.
Douglas, I thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
So thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
The Browns are not playing tomorrow, I don't think.
They're not playing, no.
But they'll play this weekend at some point.
We've kind of put out of our head already.
Really? I can sympathize.
I always say, listen, and I think everyone, there's nothing like week one of the NFL.
Right, when everyone wins
those few seconds that everyone's tied.
Yes, as Jet fans, we say we win every Super Bowl in May, but that's about it.
As long as you're not asking me for a Super Bowl prediction this early on.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'll be invited back.
I hope so. Yes,
remember those days?
That used to be a tradition.
Remember those days?
Oh, God, how many people I see ripping you off now. It's unbelievable. And that, by the way, I would never say that publicly, but it's so blatantly obvious that I can say it.
Often imitated, never duplicated.
Correct.
That's what we always say.
Correct.
And it's the greatest form of a compliment to see.
That's true.
To see that and other things.
Imitation, the greatest form of flattery, but the younger generation wouldn't have a clue that all of that Super Bowl stuff started with you.
Yep.
Simple as that. All right, Doug Soclof, go to Doug Soclof Experience on Instagram, douglasexp.com, and happy Thanksgiving.